right. So, Annie, welcome to the Forget Perfect newsletter interview series. I'm excited to have you on here. And just for everyone who's watching, this is Annie Likins. She's a Chief People Officer for Bamboo Health. So, welcome.
Hi, thank you. Thanks, Vitale. It's great to be here. Appreciate it.
To get us started, just tell me a little bit about yourself and your leadership journey.
Sure. Thanks for asking. Let's see, myself, I won't start from the very beginning, but I think it's important. I grew up in Kentucky, in Louisville, Kentucky, which, if you are in Kentucky, that's the larger city, but relative to the United States, it's a fairly small town, and a lot of folks consider it to be Southern, kind of, especially 30 years ago, to be a little bit out of touch. And so I grew up there in a very kind of protected environment, very happy childhood, and then went off to become an attorney and found myself in Boston, like in the city of Boston. And I share that because I think that it had a big influence. I definitely felt when I was in school and in my first couple of jobs in that area of the country, comments were always made about the y'all that would slip out of my mouth, or various things about my leadership style. And what I realized early on was, you know, you have two choices. You either are true to yourself and you lead the way that you lead and you take the hits and learn along the way, or you try to conform and read things and hear things and try to change what's natural about you, and you try to conform. And I kind of like that I had that challenge early on in my career. And I won't lie, I certainly tried to do the conform. I mean, a simple example was, as I sort of moved up as a prosecutor in Middlesex County, which is right outside of Boston, where a lot of the really unfortunate, brutal crime is. As I moved up, I felt like, my name is Annie, but I probably should go by Anne. So I tried changing my name to Anne. And, it was little things like that now I laugh at, because it was a long time ago. I'm like, what was I thinking? But anyway, just long way of saying I would say my leadership journey I have been given some amazing leadership opportunities that in my wildest dreams, I never really thought someone would give me that responsibility or honor. And what I have learned is they gave them to me because of who I am and how I lead naturally, not because they want to mold me into someone that I'm not. And so that's stuck by me as I've kind of moved up and been given some great opportunities as kind of an SVP of HR at a bank. And I didn't at that time even really know what HR did, but the CEO had faith in me and I went off and learned. And then kind of on to doing this Chief People Officer, which is where I've kind of found my home in tech. In tech firms for, gosh, I guess the past 20 years. As a Chief People Officer, I do a little bit of general counsel work, but so that's the long story.
I love it. So you've had a lot of different leadership roles. What does the term leadership mean to you?
So I think about this a lot because I think the most important thing is that leadership is not just in a corporate boardroom. It's not just, it's not just in a company. It is literally in everyday things that we do. So a lot of people think, well, that's not my thing to worry about. But actually, we all have a responsibility to find the leader within us and exercise that in the world in all sorts of everyday things. There's a really great video, and I'm sure you've seen it, Vitale, called The Dancing Man. And it's a guy, oh, it's so funny. It's a guy who's out there dancing at a concert, like a music festival. I love it because it talks about leadership in a non-corporate environment, which is really helpful to me. So what it talks about is that a leader is really somebody who's like the flint. They have deep within themselves a commitment or a desire to do something, and they feel the confidence to kind of be the first person, kind of the person who says, I'm good, I'm going in this direction. But they have to have the spark in order to make the flint worth anything. And that's the piece that I really think is important. You know, without followers, without followership, you're not a leader. You're just out there talking to yourself in the wind.
Yeah. 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 So what core values drive you as a leader? Like in how you make decisions, what guides you as a leader? What core values?
Um, you know, I know everyone says this, but 100% integrity. That's the one that's non-negotiable. And it comes up a lot when you're in the chief people officer role. You're asked to make recommendations and make uh, decisions that impact humans' lives in very significant and personal ways. So that's a non-negotiable. And then the second one to me is, I'm going to say humility. And it's not because I just like the fact that people are humble. It's because it allows you to find the joy in what you do.
Yeah.
So if there's an element of humility, you're listening to others, you're actually listening to yourself, and you're hopefully finding some joy in what you do, because that's really important. When that goes, you know, the ability to show up every day kind of goes with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. What do you believe is one of the biggest misconceptions about leadership or being a leader?
Hmm. Probably the fact that it looks like this. Um, you know, oh, a leader looks like this person. They speak like this. They are of this age. They are of this gender. They have this role. A huge misconception. And my children are all in their kind of mid-20s to approaching 30, and I talk to them and their friends a lot about this. Um, you know, leaders are not made, they really are born. There's something in all of us, and I believe this in every single human, which is a desire to make one's life valuable and to have an impact. Now, unfortunately, as life goes on, we get all sorts of social influences. We lack confidence. We have, you know, doubts. We have challenges. Some people have medical challenges, financial challenges, all these things that come in. But at the end of the day, I believe that everyone has a leader within them.
Yeah.
And the question is, how do you untap that? And you don't have to rise to the ranks of being the CEO of GE. That's wonderful, and there are people who do that. But maybe you're just a leader in the way that you raise your children, or in the way that you show up with your friends and family every day. And maybe you're, you know, driving a Fortune 500 company. But
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a big believer in that. Like everyone is leading with influence. Like just because
mhm.
someone reporting to you does not mean you're a leader. Like even the titles like manager versus leader really rub me the wrong way, because I'm like, everyone actually, that doesn't mean they're a good leader, but everyone is a leader in
Yeah.
some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, like I tell folks, if just look around you, do you have one follower? Even just one follower. If you have one, you're a leader. And take that as a responsibility, because that follower saw something in what you were doing.
Yeah.
And you know, hopefully you get that second follower, because now you've got, you know, emotion going on. But no, it's true.
Yeah. So you have a lot going on. You're very highly scheduled, as I call it. How do you maintain your well-being with all of the kind of stress and demands on your schedule?
Sometimes I do it better than others at times, but I mean, really through the, you know, 30 plus years of working in corporations, where at a moment's notice, and you know this because you're on planes all the time, you have to fly somewhere and you're in a different time zone, and you have to shuffle the needs of your family, and the ability to work out and all those things that bring you kind of your well-being. Two things I would say that I kind of try to keep me sane. One is find some time for yourself. I mean, even if it's 15 minutes and you're in that hotel room and before you turn on the TV or look at your phone and just, lie there with your eyes shut and give yourself that 15 minutes. And then also your physical health. I've seen this with so many folks, and the physical health can get the best of us. And once the physical ailments, and look, I'm in my 50s, so these things happen. But once they kick in, they distract your mental capacities and ability to show up and lead. So kind of keeping your eye on those two things, I think, is really important. And then the other piece I have to add, because this is super important to me, my father imparted it on me. Find something funny. You're great at it, like to your point about being present, being where your feet are. If you are present and you're where your feet are, people say funny things. Life is actually quite funny. And boy, it feels so good to laugh. I think that it balances out with one good ha ha ha. Like it balances out, 50 pounds of stress.
Yeah. Along those same lines, I was just at a retreat. I went to Mexico by myself for
Nice.
4 days just to decompress and really reset
Mm,
my nervous system. And I took a class, and the class was on seeking awe in your life.
mm.
And there's actually like an international study on it, like how important it is to seek awe, and that there are 8 pathways to seeking awe in your life. And the number one way, you're going to love this term. I mean, touches me deeply, is called moral beauty. And moral beauty are random acts of kindness. Isn't
Mm,
that just the most beautiful
I
way?
love it.
I mean,
Yes.
and then there are other ways, obviously, like nature, art, music, collective effervescence. So being at a concert with many other people and experiencing something together, like it was just really powerful, because I think, especially as high achieving leaders and professionals and always being on the go, like I'm like, gosh, I am missing awe. And
Hmm.
they suggested taking a 15-minute awe walk a week.
Yeah.
No, just look at nature, and that it dramatically reduces your blood pressure, your stress, all of those things. Anyway, just had to say that.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Really,
yeah. No, I love this topic. And if I can, two responses to that come to mind. One is these two things of work and what did you call it? Moral. I loved it.
moral beauty.
Moral and moral beauty. If they should coexist, it's not one or the other. And when you can, I do believe this, when you can bring those two together, you are a better leader, you're a healthier human being, and you're a really good example, especially for some younger folks who I go to the young moms who are like spinning 800 plates because they're raising children and doing all the things. But little things like if you're in a board meeting and there's all this conversation and it's very stressful, but there's a window that you can look out, and maybe they're having a conversation about something that's not in your area. Actually take a minute and look out the window. Or if you're out to like a big dinner, enjoy the food that, maybe you're having at a pretty stressful,
Yeah.
corporate meeting. But the other thing I wanted to say is, and I'm not like a spokesperson for the Aura Ring, but I got this Aura Ring and it has been really helpful because it gives you that data. It actually tells you that, your ability to find that de-stress time makes you more resilient. It fills your tank so that you can actually perform better. And I think I used to hear people when I was younger say, you need to take time out to do this or that. And I'd say, whatever, I don't have the time. Okay. So thanks, but no thanks. And now I realize, no, it actually, this ring shows you what it's doing to your heart rate. And so paying attention to that's super important.
Yeah. Yeah, most definitely. I think too, one of the things I've been working on related to seeking awe is just really being present with how far I've come. And I think everyone can do that.
Yeah.
I was in Houston yesterday for client work, and it was client work that I had been wanting for years. You know,
Yeah.
on the plane ride back, and I was like, "Thank you, God, for," you know what I'm saying? Like,
You got it. You
for
got it.
being where I am and giving me the opportunities, and like I think I can be someone who struggles with like this never enough syndrome and constantly striving, and so I've really been working on just like being very grateful and content with
Yeah. Yeah. And it's one of those things that's hard to, not hard, but you have to be intentional about it, about doing it. When people have asked about kind of what's your recommendation for younger folks or new people who are newer to kind of I don't even want to say corporate, but just trying to figure out their career and how to be a leader. I say, like, the mantra that I always had was go it until you blow it. I mean, there's fake it until you make it. I'm not with that one because I don't believe in faking it, but go it until you blow it, which is great. Like, take every opportunity that's given to you, show up every day, give it your all, but make sure that you're making time along the way and you're bringing that influence of, taking a moment.
Yeah. Another way of thinking it too is be it until you believe it.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Um,
And don't be afraid of it. Like you may, I always say, if you go it till you blow it, like, you may go and find that you did blow it, but that's okay. Cause you learn from that, and just get up and go at it again the next day.
yeah. So obviously the workplace is changing, workplace dynamics are changing. I mean, everything always evolves, but I feel like we're evolving 10x, 100x speed. And so I'd love to know, like, what do you think are some of the most critical, like, leadership skills right
Great question. I mean, the change is astronomical. And one thing we all know is that it's not going to stop. It's only going to keep getting faster. So I think you're asking me what's important as a leader.
now?
Is that right? Yeah. One, to be aware about your folks, the people who are, showing up every day, helping you to be successful, have all sorts of different pulls, pressures, and sensitivities, and comfort with change. Your job is not to be their therapist. It's not to solve those problems, but I do think it is your job to be aware of that piece and listen, and listen to your teammates and help them navigate. So sometimes, and we say this at Bamboo, it may not be the place for some people. We're going through a ton of growth. It's
Yeah.
crazy fun, but it is change that is going at rapid pace. And I think as a leader, your job is to listen and identify people who are struggling with that and help them find a place that's a better home for them or a better path or a way to flex up into it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I've also been thinking about, um, you know, the importance of, like, as someone who's doing work with organizations, I've been focusing on team effectiveness over team building. Like
Yeah.
the effectiveness of a team, which is like trust, communication, those sorts of things. So, like, how can we be more effective as a team versus, like, people coming in saying, like, we want to do team building? I'm like, no, let's do team effectiveness.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, and I know this is near and dear to your heart, and I've done a lot of reading about it too, but the whole concept of trust uh, is so critical because without that, you can't hold people accountable. You can't find the results you want. I don't even think you can really enjoy working with your team without it. So I agree. I've kind of moved away from oh gosh, those exercises, like we're all going to go free fall
Yeah.
with each other. I always thought those were fun, but I'm not sure that they really brought a whole lot of trust in how we were going to deal with some topics that we needed to have, some really sort of positive conflict around. And you can't have that unless you have that level of trust. I love that leaders like you are really starting to highlight this for leadership teams because we tend to fall back to the go-to of how we've always done it. But it's nice that there's really new thinking around that.
I feel like I've been the most popular topic recently for companies and CEOs that I've been talking to is accountability.
Hmm.
Has been, in fact, it was also interesting because I was talking to a CEO and he was like, "What does trust have to do with accountability?" And I was like, "Everything,
Everything.
everything." But it was interesting because I think people think, like, "Oh, well, I need to hold people accountable. I need to make them accountable." And I'm like, "You don't do that. You actually develop accountable people."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
developing accountable people? Like, are they empowered to make decisions? Do they know how to make decisions? They feel like they can, admit a mistake or ask for help. Are they really clear in their expectations?
Right.
Are we having the right performance conversations? Are we letting things slide 4, 5, 6 times before talking about it? And it requires a lot of work.
Yeah, and it's a gift. It is a gift. People, I think accountability has kind of a negative connotation around, oh, that means that, you're figuring out when you're going to fire me. 100% opposite. It's a gift to someone because if they get to own being accountable, they get to learn, they get to develop, they get to grow, as opposed to, okay, don't hold me accountable. And then there are things that you think I'm not capable of. So guess what? Someone else is going to do them for me. And
Yeah.
then I don't get to do them. Yeah.
Yeah. And your personal self-worth increases when you are an accountable person.
Right. Right. I know sometimes it's helpful to translate, I think, into like more personal things to people. And I'll say, how would you feel if, you weren't held accountable for the raising of your 2-year-old? You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
what? Someone else is going to do that? No way. And so I think that's the only way that it help people understand it really is a gift. It's allowing you to make the decisions around the things that matter to you.
Yeah. Just a few more questions. So I am a perfectionism researcher and I talk a lot
Yep.
about perfectionism. So how do you think perfectionism impacts the workplace?
Um, I love that the concept. I don't consider myself to be a perfectionist, so there, there's some positives, I think, to being a perfectionist because you're great in the details and you get things right. So I've actually kind of aspired to be more of one. So it's been an interesting concept to think about the impact of it because it's not been something that's been like on my personal development radar as much, but I've seen it, and I think the areas that it can cause in a business is one. If you are operating as a perfectionist, you may miss what's right in front of your eyes,
Right.
of what's happening because you think you're marching to your own playbook, and this is how it has to happen. And I know because I've done all the research and I've thought about it. And then the second consequence of that, which is really kind of part and parcel, is you're not learning from others. You're not developing others, which a business can't thrive. If you have a CEO who's operating in that way, um, why pay for an executive team?
Right.
Just get rid of all of them because you're doing everybody's job and telling them. And by the way, I'm not advocating for that because that business is not going to do well. So I do think um, perfectionism can really get in the way of making good decisions, tapping into the skills and expertise of your teammates, and then from a personal perspective, growing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think too, when you're talking about details, I think it's accuracy, not perfectionism.
Yeah, yeah.
And it
Thank you. Appreciate that.
sounds like, well, because accuracy is doing your due diligence, checking things
Hmm.
to be checked, right? Maybe having another team member. There's a process you are following, and you're confident in that process. Perfectionism is, checking something 30 times, reading
Hmm.
the slide deck 20 times, going to bed with anxiety about it, like just living in fear that
Yeah,
something is going to happen. So I also try to help people like use different words around it, right? Like, so you can be amazing at details, but it's coming from a space of like
yeah.
accuracy and confidence. So yeah.
Yeah, that's I love that because it really does bring to light the impact that it can have on your team, and it can be really destructive on a team because your need to check that PowerPoint deck 30 times and make 15 different revisions up until the moment you walk in to do your presentation. The team feels that because you're yanking them left, yanking them right along on the way. And I've seen it. There's burnout.
Yeah.
People feel demotivated. They also feel as though why maybe I won't say what I think should happen. I'll just wait because I'm going to be told eventually. It's
Yeah.
going to come my way. So you really lose that um, sort of intellectual horsepower that you have in a leadership team.
Right. And then it's this dysfunction of like anticipating, this these last minute changes or just trying to stay on top of it. And I mean, it's just your nervous system is on fire.
Yeah, and it's hard. I mean, it takes restraint. I mean, I have enough perfectionism in me where I know that feeling of restraint when you are going to bed and you're thinking about, a component that someone else wrote for a presentation or someone else did. Um, but it's a really good skill to
Yeah.
learn is to restrain from that. And I love those Pat Leoncini books about the five dysfunctions of a team because he talks quite a bit about that and uses kind of fables to give you, consider like individuals who are grappling with that, and even says, here's what this person said and this person said, and then that perfectionist is trying to like hold back that desire to jump in there. So it's not easy to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so final question, like what is maybe your favorite piece of leadership advice, or maybe what's like a mantra you're living by right now in your this season of life, like something that's kind of guiding you?
Um, I think it's, there's something called wisdom when you get, to this point in your career. And I don't, and maybe this happens to some people when they're in their 30s. I didn't feel it until I got to my 50s. And it's a lovely thing. It really is a gift. It's when all those experiences and all those things you've read and been told and observed start to gel for you into this little magic like potion. And mine for me is, and I wish that I could, and you can't because people who are early on in their careers, they have to go through their own journey. But I almost wish I could like spray my potion on people. It is literally, I know this sounds so trite, but be true to yourself. We are all so capable of being leaders. We are all so capable of doing amazing things. The thing that holds us back is our own self-doubt and our own, maybe you call it lack of confidence, whatever it is. Okay, now there, like again, I don't want to discredit the fact that there are financial and physical things that can come in, but putting those on a different shelf, it's this self-doubt. And the people who are the most fantastic leaders, they're quirky. I mean, they're fun. They aren't putting you to sleep when they're speaking because they're speaking from a place that is genuine, that's who they are. It has some humility. And they're kind of not afraid to put it out there. And they know they may leave the room and someone may say, well, they're a little crazy, but guess what? They were memorable and they led in a way where people said, I know what I'm getting with that person and I like it because it's different.
Right.
So that's I guess my thing if I were to impart something on people
Yeah.
is yes, you've got to learn and listen to feedback and coaching, and there are many improvements that we can all make, but the essence that is you is a wonderful thing, and don't lose it, and don't feel like you have to park it on a shelf just because you're at work. Bring it to work.
I love that. Awesome. Annie, thank you so much for your time today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. Talk to you later.